Canada. Mandy Renahan here, the blue collar CEO and the founder of freshco.ca, not the grocery store. That is a whole other discussion that we don't need to go in today. I want to thank Skills Canada for inviting me today to be your keynote, and everybody at home, no matter whether you've dressed up for the event or you have your pajama pants on, which seem to be a theme these days. Lobster pants, East Coaster, really can't help it, but just want to let you know, if we're going to have a competition, you're probably going to lose. Anyway, in a regular time, I would be up on a stage, you would all be there, but here's the thing. Living in a little bit of a strange time right now, but I will say, everybody, it's coming to an end. I'm feeling very confident that the end is near. So right now, as I look into that little green dot, what I'd like to do today is just talk to you about entrepreneurship, women in trades, a little bit of inclusion so that we can talk about why that's so exciting today and why it should have happened a long time ago, but we're not going to go backwards. We're going to keep going forwards. So for a lot of you that don't know who I am, they call me the blue collar CEO. Why? Because I'm bridging that big gap between the white and the blue collar industries. And you might say to yourself, Mandy, why is that a big deal? Well, for years, decades, even going back centuries, the blue collar industry, which encompasses all of our trades, has been kind of looked at as a second class, I would say, industry, and more so than ever career. So even when I was in school, it was everybody was told to go to university because that's where all the smart kids went. And then all the rest of the kids went over to community college or trade school. Well, let's just dial this back a little bit. Just imagine where you would be if you didn't have a roof. Just imagine where you'd be if you didn't have doors and windows. Just imagine where you'd be if you didn't have plumbing, running water, if you didn't have pavement to walk down the street, if you didn't have highways that you could drive your car on. Imagine that you didn't have clothes. Imagine that you didn't have food. Everything in the world that we depend on as human beings, essential things, come from the trade and the blue collar industry. But see, we forget that. Because if we didn't have that, we'd be standing there with what God gave us in the buff with nothing. So it's interesting that way back in the day, we had probably a room full of hierarchy of people that said, hey, you know what? They're the lesser than, but they're the ones that built our castles, built our homes, built everything in the world that we adore. And here we are today. And you might be saying, so really still more, Mandy, why should I care? You should care because right now, because of that stigma, right now, because of that narrative, we have a systemic trade shortage. Now you hear people say by 2025 or 2021, 27, we're going to have, probably 7, 8, 900,000 people that we're going to be short in the skilled trade industry. Well, I'm here to tell you, because then I'm going to tell you why I became the blue collar CEO and the company that I built. I'm in this industry day in, day out, commercial, industrial, residential. And I can tell you that that shortage is already here, 100%. So, Mandy Renahan grew up in Yarmouth, Nova Scotia. Now, everybody, if you're a parent, you've already been. If you haven't been, shame on you. Most beautiful place in Canada. Grew up at the bottom. You'd have to have water wings to go any further. My dad was a lobster fisherman. My mom was a homemaker. I grew up with 3 brothers. Didn't have a hope in HE double hockey sticks of ever being feminine. And so what was I? I was athletic and I loved structure. And I didn't know why. So growing up in a lobster fishing world, down in rural Nova Scotia, everybody, I can tell you this. It wasn't easy. There were times that we waited for mom and dad. Where were the groceries coming from? We would have to use a bar of soap to wash our hair. There was no shampoo. And so I remembered watching my parents struggle day in and day out with where was that next check going to come from. And I wanted to help them. And so my father, being a lobster fisherman, they used to have the little fish, everybody. This is your little lesson on lobster fishing, is that they have bait bags where the little lobsters come in and that's their snack. So they had this little fish called a kayak, and it's not the kayaks that you're used to. And they love nibbling on them. So my dad, I overheard him saying to some of the guys on the street, hey, listen, the lobsters are loving these kayaks that are swimming upstream. So I call all my guys on the street and I say, listen, if I cut you back now, I didn't say 20% back then, because you got to realize, everybody, I was 10 years old. What I said is I'll cut you back at least $20 out of every haul we get. And so they were like, okay, well, what else do we get? And I said, and you'll be able to pick me because I was better than anyone else when we're playing hockey, baseball, tennis, you name it. So that was it. So we used to go out at night. We were 10 years old, everybody. You know what? It was something that we shouldn't have been doing, but here I am today. So we would go out, we would dip these kayaks, and then I'd bring them up the driveway. We'd put them on Dad's truck. And then the next day he'd say, dear, you tell those guys they're doing a great job. He says, the boss is loving it. And I said, you know what, Pup? I'll let the guys on the street know that they're doing a great job. Here was the thing, everybody. The big catch came. All this fish started coming upstream. We couldn't dip them quick enough. So right at that moment, I had to make a decision. Was I going to get my butt kicked because I shouldn't have been out of the house? Or should I have gone and got my dad because I knew I was going to lose all this money? So I went back and I poked him and I said, Pop, I'm the fish broker, and yeah, so I got a lot of fish that we can't dip. And he just stared at me, kind of like I'm staring at you right now, like, who are you? So anyway, he didn't get mad. He got my brothers up. We went down, got all the fish. And then finally, when it was all over, I was still a little bit weary and afraid of getting in trouble. And he said, you're a girl, Mandy. You're a girl. What are you doing at 10 years old going out and dipping fish for me to bring to my boss? And he said, and furthermore, he says, he just stared at me. Well, here's the thing, everybody. He stares at me the same way today, except for I buy him a new truck every three years. But it never dawned on me, because I was a girl, that should be an issue. And that was, okay, everybody, I'm dating myself right now. That would have been 34 years ago. 34 years ago. And believe it or not, all of you young ones at home, I'm actually still one of the younger people in the industry. So fast forward, I was leaving home, didn't even go to my high school graduation, grabbed my hockey bag full of everything I had in it. And what did I have? I didn't have any money. I had personality, a lot of ambition. And then in the middle of it, I figured out I was gay. What a resume, everybody. Now remember, that was over 30 years ago. You know, when the world that we lived in wasn't as accepting as it is today. But all I was headed for was to make my parents happy, to be able to help them financially. And I was just ready to go, looking for love. Didn't even dawn on me that being different in every capacity was wrong. So what did I do? I was fascinated with structure. So I kept calling everybody at night in Halifax, asking them, plumbers, bricklayers, electricians, carpenters, could I work with them? And they'd hang up the phone on me. And then I would call them back and I would say, listen, you're going to like me. And I learned quickly. Well, what were they going to say? No. So when I was 18 going on 19 to 20, I completely was self-trained. There weren't the schools around that there were today, the programs around that are just off the charts, that are just ready and available for everybody today. It's so inspiring to see how far it's come from when I was a young person. And so, to make a fat story thin, I did another job. I can't even begin to tell you. It was the first job that I did on my own. The owner was elated. I was 19. I had sanded some floors off. completely had to haul people in, asking for his credit card. He came back and said, Mandy, I'm just blown away. I said, it's a good thing I didn't make any money. And he laughed and he said, you didn't bid it right anyway. You're 19 years old. And anyway, he paid me double. And my name spread like a bad fart. That's right, a bad fart across Nova Scotia and the Atlantic provinces. By the time I was 20, I was doing commercial and residential. And I was doing almost $500,000 worth of business. And back then, everybody, that was a lot of money, working for Irving Oil, Salter Street Film Corporation. Who else was I working for? Canada Post, you name it. And so what does freshco.ca do? I seen a very big void. And yes, I was here before the grocery store because I said to my friend, what am I going to name my company? It's going to be freshco.ca. And why? Because I was the fresh face. I was the only woman in the industry. And so I saw a void. So what I started doing for all these different brands, because I knew all these different trades, is that I was doing all of their maintenance, which means that all of my clients, Nike, Sephora, Tiffany's, Home Depot, Gap, you name it, Under Armour. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. I mean, if there's anybody where you love to shop, they're probably my customer. And so what we do is they call us and they'll say, hey, you know what? We have a roof leak. We have a overrunning toilet. We have a tripping hazard. We need, you know what? Somebody busted out one of our windows. So we're kind of like the dental hygienists that go in there and fix everything. And then they come to us and say, listen, Freshco, you know, we've had this look for probably 3 to 5 years. Now we want to change it up. So we do what we call operational refreshes. So we're kind of like the plastic surgeons of retail also, that go in and give brands a complete overhaul. So you might have gone into Lululemon a week before and everything looked like this, and then you come in 2 weeks later, we've been in there. And so we've given these brands beautiful facelifts. And then also we have our other construction department that does full tenant build-outs. So if you look at us as a company, we are a complete boutique 24/7 facilities maintenance firm that does anything and everything you can imagine that a retail structure needs. So, exciting? I think it's pretty exciting. Is it a niche? Yeah, it was a niche, and we're all through Canada and all through the United States. And here's the other thing with owning that company, everybody, that you have to realize, is that being female and being gay, the reality is it never dawned on me once. So if you're at home listening today, the reality is that at 24 years old, I signed my first contract in San Francisco. In San Francisco, I'd never flown west, hardly been on a plane. I barely even had a garden salad. And the Gap, when it was just the Gap, invited me to basically pitch what I was doing in Canada. And so when I walked out of that boardroom, that the guy said, hey, listen, Canada, you got 7 minutes. I was like, oh my God. And so that 7 minutes turned into an hour. And I walked out of there, and I'm going to say it again, at 24 years of age, by being me, by being authentic, by wanting this so badly. And I made a great friend that day. And I've continued to grow with this particular brand and many, many more. And here's the thing, on top of that, in the last 2 or 3 years, I've been named Canada's most admired CEO against all the big boys at WestJet, McDonald's, you name it. And also, I've been named Canada's most powerful woman, 25 most women of influence, you name it, the list goes on. We've been hailed as one of the most innovative companies, you know, in the Canadian spectrum. So why am I telling you all this? I'm telling you this is because if you are a female sitting at home today wondering, where should I go? Do I want to use my hands and my head? And do I really want to go to university? And I want to be very clear to anybody who's listening. University is a great, great, great track for some people. And for a lot of people, it's not. And all the cool kids are coming to the blue side of the tracks. Why? Because there is not a more exciting place to be right now than in the trade industry. We're suiting up for a modernized pipeline. everything in the environmental shift. I mean, everything from, homes that are off the grid to basically panels that motor your whole home. I mean, when you look at right now, we're teaching kids how to spray beautiful, beautiful furniture, kitchens with an AI gun. That everything is automated, and that before we used to, people are probably going to laugh if you're in the wood industry, we used to spend hundreds of dollars, waste them, trying to train people how to spray. There's so much going on from a technical perspective in the trade industry. I can't even tell you how excited I am. When you look at all the CNC technology, when you look at right now, we have robotics actually building walls. But here's the thing, you still need a tradesperson behind that robot to make sure that they're doing their job and everything is up to building code. The opportunities are off the chart. And another thing is, who the heck doesn't want to be a millionaire? Who doesn't want to be a millionaire? Trades and entrepreneurship go hand in hand. That, by the time I was 30, I was a millionaire. Why? Because I saw an opportunity in the trade industry and I took it. And here's the other thing, it becomes so addictive, you want to know them all, which is why you see a lot of times the guys that are doing the plumbing are the same guys that are like, I need to know I need to know everything about the electrical, I'm going to start laying floors, I'm going to do it all, because it's addictive. And more so, it's rewarding. It's rewarding from here. It's rewarding from here. It's rewarding. Imagine you being that person that's maintaining the Canada that all those brilliant people built many, 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 many decades and centuries ago, and that you are part of saving our planet and our country from all the emissions by building our modernized pipeline into everything that we want to be more sustainable. Imagine being that. The reality is, everybody, is that if you're out there today and you are a young man or a young woman and you're looking and saying, hey, you know what? I just don't know what I want to do. Give it a try. If your mom or dad or your deck needs, to be stained, or you're putting a new one in, or you need something in the house, let's just even say your doorknobs are wobbly, you know what? Pick up a screwdriver. Give it a whirl. The reality is, and you might see, because some families it is, you know what? Your dad might be handier than your mom, or vice versa. There's a lot of the wives out there today that are very, very handy. Because why? It's okay now. It's okay to say that this industry is not just for males anymore. Here's the thing about people like me, everybody, is that I busted that door down. Busted that door, those obstacles down. Now it's for you to go through that door and pick up those windows and let some fresh air into the world that we call the trade industry. Because I promise you 100%, you will never in a million years ever regret it, because there are so many opportunities. And then, listen, after 20 years, you look and say, you know what? I've run my own plumbing company for this many years. I've done so well. Sell it. And then you can become a teacher. You can be mentoring people. There are so many places, lateral, vertical places for you to go. And here's the thing, because I also want to say, when we talk about being inclusive, it's not just about the color of your skin or who you prefer. It's also about the fact that if you find yourself in a scenario where you're older than you were before, the trades know no age. No age. If you've got that much life experience, they're waiting for you, because I've heard it many, many times before. Many women, they're like, oh, Mandy, my kids are gone, and, I would love to learn carpentry. And I'm like, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? So that's it, kids, is if you can go in the trade, so can your mom, so can your dad. It's never too late to make that decision to go, because this is the industry to be in. And I can tell you, the stigma, the narrative around it being second class, there's nothing second class about the person that's talking to you today. I can tell you that I've never been more proud, and I've never been here to tell you that Skills Canada is one of the entry points of being able to show you all that the competition's off the charts, the quality's off the charts, and that you can be a top performer in a field that more so than anything will make you happier than I can even explain to you. Because I almost need to tell you, I could never, even 1 minute, even doubt the fact that this career has not only made me wealthy, it's made me happy and healthy. I mean, you just don't get that one swig right there, everybody, for nothing. And it's organic. So this is my message to everyone today. No matter who you are, what you are, where you come from, what age you are, anything. If there's even an accessibility issue anywhere, we have a trade for you. There is everything. This industry is so ready to welcome the diversity, the equality, and the equity, and the inclusion of everybody that's a wonderful human being that's ready to do this. You'll never regret it. I'm Mandy Renahan, the Blue Collar CEO, and I'll also leave you with this because it happened today. HGTV and I have partnered up to do a show called Trading Up with apprentices that are going to be the next new GCs of our new modernized world, and I couldn't be more excited. So you're definitely going to have to button up for that. Being shot this summer, couldn't be more excited. It's time. And if you ever have any questions, all those wonderful teachers, advocates around you, because it's not just me, just ask the question, because this is probably where you need to be.